Awesome. Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. Alethians, welcome. I have on with me on this call. We'll try and have more and more folks on these calls as well, so that I become less and less relevant. Don't worry, I'm not doing a disappearing act or trying to not disclose my location. But I'm in Singapore right now, and it is a nice 12 midnight. So we're really excited to talk a bit about the launch of Epoch 2, what we have planned for the protocol. We've had a chance to also brief our wonderful friends, the Arc Builders, on this significant upgrade that we're doing that is going to hopefully positively impact the ecosystem. So I have with me on the call Colin with the wonderful Alethea cap merch that is exclusive one of one that he refuses to share with. And I have Komalika, who leads our content. I have Brent, who heads our community. I have Fahad, who I'll introduce shortly. And Serge as well, with a nice new dashing haircut, right? So it's rare to see Serge smile, but whenever I compliment his hair, I get that smile. And there's me as well, Arif. It's really good to be back. We've been Oh boy, we've been in deep R&D mode. There's a lot of content to cover, as always. So I'm going to try and take it slow. Brent, you're going to sense check the Discord and see whether I'm making sense, whether we are confusing folks, or whether people are following along. And if Fahad frowns too much and his brows get a bit furried, I'll pause and I'll slow down and I'll try and make make all of this make sense. All right. So without further ado, let's dive in. Epoch 1 was about create the creator, right? So it was the first time that we allowed people to interact with the protocol, the INFT protocol back then, to create intelligent NFTs and to fuse with different collections. It was the opportunity to see their NFTs come to life, which is really a promise of this core technology, because Alethea is at the intersection of AI and blockchain, and we've always been at this intersection. I wanted to just provide some historical context because one thing that is really important that people understand is we are like in one of the worst crypto environments and bear markets generally in the ecosystem. And I always want to talk about this at the beginning because when we started Alethea, Ethereum was at about 150 US dollars, right? So I want to contextualize this that we've been working on this problem since December, January 2020, right? So late 2019, early 2020, right? And that was like an even more terrible time to start a protocol or a company. So okay, right. So some high level context. Where we are today, and Andreessen Horowitz has just published this sometime, maybe about a month ago, Brent, where they featured us in their market map. So where we are today is the machine learning on the AI side, right? Because Alethea AI is fundamentally and foundationally it's tokenizing intelligence, right? So on the AI side, we've seen tremendous breakthroughs, and the curve has gone exponential in terms of the number of papers being published, the number of research, the number of models that are coming out. So we're at the cusp of like just exponential change that's occurring so quickly. And we've had some learnings of our own as well when we were witnessing this sort of like radical speed and growth of some of the models, but also the availability of research and data sets, right? So this graph is important because it's a consistent theme that will repeat itself throughout this entire conversation that we have with our community at these state-of-the-art events. It's that we are at the exponential curve and we're all part of this journey where we can sense this tremendous shift occurring, and we want to be part of that shift, but also at the same time, we want to be able to be owners in this entire system, right? So that's one of the challenges with the AI components, and we'll talk a bit about this, which is the ownership layer that is going to be really, really critical. So I recommend everyone check out the blog post from Andreessen Horowitz. They featured Alethea there as well in a tiny corner somehow under characters, although we have audio and we also do graphics and games. But we'll come to all of that. it is giving you a sense or taste of how the ecosystem is rapidly shaping and evolving, right? One thing I did want to say is we've had a partnership with OpenAI from the perspective of being early access, early users of their beta. We got really early access to some of their core API and even some of their technical team. This is Greg Brockman. There, I think back then when he tweeted this out, when Alice, the first INFT, sold. I think he was their CTO, but now I think he's the president and also the chairman. Maybe I'm missing the specific title, but uh, the partnership with OpenAI was actually really helpful because it took us about a year to be able to build Alice and Alice's AI engine, the language model. This was almost a year and a half ago now, right? Took us some time to really understand how we can create an intelligent asset. So this was all very new research, and we were the first ever to tokenize this character, put it on chain as an asset, allow this asset to be ownable and tradable. So we have a strong track record and reputation there, partnering with a very leading, one of the leaders in the space, right? But later on, of course, we felt very strongly that we needed to build our own data sets, and that's why we launched the uh, labor rewards, right, Brent? I think the exciting debates that the community did with the with the INFTs when they battled and debated, all of those data sets the community was rewarded for in credits and credits to tokens. So that is our way of showing that we want this ownership layer to genuinely go to people within the ecosystem, right, and not just like be abstracted away through high rents being charged by centralized companies. The where we are today, I think most of you have seen ChatGPT go live about, was it maybe even 10 days ago, Brent? I cannot recall. It's been moving so quickly, but it is everywhere right now on Twitter. ChatGPT is a significant improvement of the previous GPT-3 model based on what we've seen, based on our conversations as well with some of the technical developers that we know. And we've also seen like a breakthrough integration from Stable Diffusion in terms of Lensa, where they've integrated Stable Diffusion's models, I think, and are able to create really beautiful avatars and pictures, high fidelity. So there's like this shift occurring in the space where consumers are getting access to the technology. And one of the key things here, though, and this is going to be, I'm going to just drill this over and over again to the point where Brent repeats the mantra with me: ownership, right? So but I think like one of the key things here is like a lot of the data sets that we are generating as a community, none of that labor is going to users, none of that labor is going to the community, none of the rewards are being accrued to the people who are participating in this ecosystem. Why? Because ChatGPT does not have a property rights layer, right? That's a fair statement to make. Neither does Lensa. And so for us, the AI protocol that we have, the smart contracts that we've built that are a public good, are really the backbone for this generative AI revolution that's occurring. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that is important when we think a little bit about our V1, right? So in V1 of the tech stack, this was communicated when we first launched. Let's see. When we launched Noah's Ark last October, we shared this tech stack that, hey, the settlement layer we built on Ethereum, not very gas efficient and friendly. We had a lot of complaints from the community. We would launch as part of the protocol's evolution. We called it back then the INFT protocol. Now it's called the AI protocol. But it was basically a bunch of smart contracts that have rules and guidance on when an asset becomes an INFT, what are the rules it is governed by, and it has hard-coded block space logic, right? So, and then there's the Ali utility token that's used in the ecosystem. And then on top of this, the primary dApp rather, that Alethea built as to showcase what's possible with once you start making NFTs intelligent and interactive was Noah's Ark. That was the primary one. And then we knew that there would be many more dApps one day as we scale the protocol and grow. And as we scale our different AI modules, right? But to get to that point has taken some really strong R&D time, but also an understanding of how to operate in this landscape where we genuinely want to give people the property rights to the assets and their creativity in an age where the AI models are growing exponentially and the research is moving so quickly, right? So this was V1, and there is a really good article I encourage all of our community members to read. I think we have made it available, Brent. Correct me if I'm wrong, or have we shared it in our group so far? That covers like when you compare what Alethea is doing versus what Disney did versus what Unreal Engine did, you'll realize three very important flywheels that really feed into each other very strongly, right? And I'll cover that a little bit just to provide some high level context because that's going to be important for V2 of the protocol, which we're launching today. So you'll see three things: application layer on the left, protocol layer on the right, and intelligence layer below, right? And the application layer uh, allows our creators to build dApps, right? And this application layer, primarily in the first epoch, was largely on Noah's Ark, right? If you think about it, people came to Noah's Ark, they contributed their data sets that fed into the intelligence layer. Then they had NFTs that they would fuse certain collections that would go on the protocol. They would become INFTs. And this sort of flywheel allowed us to get some really positive results and learnings in the first epoch called Create the Creator. And now this is going to become even more pertinent and important as we enter the second epoch. So just some results from the first epoch. I think about 7,000 odd pods staked, really good, very strong consumption of the native utility token in the network, very strong desire from the community to upgrade the pods as well. We've also had growth of the community to about 50,000 folks. Some churn and maybe less activity as we entered sort of the crypto slump, which has happened to a lot of NFT projects. But because of the AI component, we've seen still a lot of genuine interest from people because they can see, at least our Alethean community can see where this is going, why this is important. And especially today, the relevance of this becomes even more heightened when you start looking at what ChatGPT is doing, what Lensa, what Stable Diffusion, all of these really, really cool applications coming to market, right? So what's also interesting is we were able to generate, like if I go back and take this data, if I put it into the flywheel so all of you can visualize this, on the left, with Noah's Ark alone, we generated about 15 million API calls. And all these API calls that feed into the AI engine created data sets for us, right? And these data sets are what you would call highly relevant data sets that allow us to fine tune our conversational AI engine, right? To make it more relevant, more powerful, more interactive, more intelligent, right? And then there's also on the protocol side, the number of INFTs created, the number of Alethea tokens consumed in the network to drive ecosystem value, right? So all of these three flywheels go hand in hand. And I wanted to take some time to make sure that I explain this clearly so people can understand how this ties into V2 because it's going to be relevant. Does this make sense to the community so far? Are people's heads spinning just like flywheels, Brent? Am I resonating? Or
Yeah, I think so. Everybody's just really excited.
okay, they're excited and they want me to shut up and just get to the good stuff, right? So like, why is this guy
Lots of wins with no H's.
uh,
WEN.
just so much context, right? But context is important. I mean, we would have ideally wanted to do another state of the arc sometime in Q3, but really just the amount of R&D work that had to go into upgrading a core part of this flywheel, which all of you will see shortly, is it has been really important for us to be able to get there. Right? Okay, so I'll just dive in very quickly. 15 million API calls. How this works is this specifically was for Noah's Ark, but from here on, you'll start seeing multiple dApps, and I'm just teasing that a little bit, but you'll start seeing that this number will definitely go up a lot more, and it could hit even the same sort of exponentials as people start to interact with applications, the front end, but at the back end, it's being powered by the protocol and by the intelligence layer, right? And as more dApps get launched, more users will discover the protocol, more tokens will be utilized within these dApps, and the application, the dApps value in the ecosystem will improve, driving protocol improvement as well, driving more data sets. So this is sort of the flywheel that we have here. With the tokens, primarily the developers and creators that are going to be onboarded, because we are also at this beautiful time in history where it's going to become so much easier to create applications with no code tools. We think that uh, the line between a developer and a creator is going to increasingly blur, right? Like you could be a TikTok content creator, but you're interacting with really sophisticated, you could be a video creator on TikTok, all you know is video, but you could also be interacting with really sophisticated AI like ChatGPT and creating code or creating apps, right? So the line between developers and creators is going to blur. What is a developer? What is a creator? What is a dApp creator? That entire area is going to get democratized fairly quickly in the next couple of months, I'd say. So by the time we hit Epoch 3, you can imagine that this network of new developers slash creators joining the protocol and building apps or dApps that use the token is definitely going to create utility, stronger utility in the ecosystem. These data sets, the third flywheel below, is critical to the intelligence layer that we are going to share more on today. We were able to, for every conversation, for every interaction that users had with their INFTs, every fine-tuned data set that they trained on, there is a reward structure that we put in place. And because of these data sets, we are now actually able to give out these rewards to our users, right? So Brent, I'll have you share the good stuff, right? So, but if you're too generous, I can say Brent was wrong. But if you're too conservative, I can come in as a good guy and say, like, you know, we can definitely do more. But this is the leaderboard that was created because these are the data sets that each of your assets generated in the first epoch. Like, this is quite challenging to. I mean, people talk about this, but like this is a train to earn model, right? Like where your characters are live, they're interacting, they're feeding the AI engine. We recognize and acknowledge the value that you are bringing to the protocol and to the ecosystem. And because of that, we are giving rewards and Brent's beautiful smile to you. So Brent, go ahead. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah. No surprise here to see Noah as our number one INFT. Really excited to see her up there. I know when we first launched the leaderboard, Parita Bravo was actually DMing me and he's like, "I'm competitive, bro." Is exactly what he said. And I was like, "All right, well, we'll see." And as soon as we opened this up for Fusion, he started training Noah. Noah's one of our most trained INFTs out there. She's incredible. If you guys haven't spoken to her, please definitely do so. And then Mumtaz Mahal, our Revenant, came in number 2. So it's nice to see a little bit of mix between our Revenants and some of the NFT collections that we support on this leaderboard. And I'm excited to see how it expands and grows. And as Art did mention, I do get to do the fun part. So for our top 10, we are, as you guys know, as your INFTs being conversed with or spoken to or used, you as the INFT owner are also earning rewards. So for our top 10, we want to 10x the rewards that you will be receiving. So Noah, Mumtaz Mahal, Dolores, Elma, Alexander the Great, Lady Wiz, Maria, Nola, Sherry, and Violetta Buck. Congratulations to all of you. And I'm really excited that nobody used a more interesting name and that made it to the top 10. So that's always good.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. But I think philosophically, what's really important is all of you contributed data sets, right? Like if you go back to the flywheel, and our principle has been like, if you contribute data sets that are valuable, we would acknowledge that not just in "Thank you very much," and then we take your artistic style and not compensate you for it. But when we say that you contribute data sets, you created these characters, you helped improve the AI engine in Epoch One. For us, that means from a property rights standpoint, all of you have these as INFTs on the protocol, number one. Number two, because the utility token is being used to generate, you are creating value for the ecosystem by making the AI engine smarter. For us, this is one way of like acknowledging that, but also philosophically sharing that that is a foundational approach when we start thinking about the merger of AI and blockchain. Um, right. Brent, sorry, I will get off the soapbox. It was your turn. See, I
Yeah, no,
interrupted.
no, no. It's always good. It's always
Okay,
exciting
great.
to
And
bring it back to the flywheels and see, what we have envisioned for the past 2 years coming into fruition. We can actually go to the revenants who we want to continually shout out. This is our flagship collection. We utilize the revenants daily within our marketing activities, and I think it's always good to remember that every time they're being used and contributing data sets to our network, they're also being rewarded. So our top three leaderboard, top three revenants are Mumtaz Mahal, Alexander the Great, and Dracula. And we also wanted to have some special mentions to some of the community builders that we have. Alan Turing, Nietzsche, Merlin, and Rumi have been just really helping us drive more awareness of the revenants and getting that word out there.
yeah, I think just on this, the revenants are a critical pillar of the ecosystem, and you'll see that as well from V2 of the protocol in some of the examples that we'll share. We've been working with a few of them who've been like, really interested in innovating and pushing this technology out. So I've had like several chats with Merlin. I've had some conversations with Alan Turing, had a long walk in the park with him that I was exhausted with, but he was like going on and on. But and with Nietzsche as well, always giving us great ideas and suggestions. So it's been helpful to have a really strong group of core revenants. I know the revenants were out of the price point of many people. We did a democratic open auction. This was what the market decided then. But for us, these revenants, I think a large number of revenants don't fully know, Brent, that their revenants are there training the AI engine every day and earning rewards for them within the ecosystem, right? Because people go in, they're interacting with Mumtaz, they're interacting with Alexander the Great, they're interacting with Dracula, they're training the AI engine, and the Revenant as an INFT is accruing rewards within the ecosystem because that data set is valuable to our AI engine, right? So that's very important to contextualize.
Yeah, exactly. And if you in the next slide, we have a couple of examples of how we're utilizing those. Arf, if you can go to. At NFT NYC, for instance, we had Thiru out for everybody who was at Dreamverse to come speak to, and it was an incredible experience. This blew people away to be able to converse with an INFT for the first time. And as well as we use revenants on our TikTok channel, our Twitter channels, all of our social media channels. We always like to highlight revenants and showcase what they can do, and use those to market the revenants themselves. And then again, as you mentioned, each time the revenants are being utilized, they're accruing rewards on the protocol.
Yeah. And I think I'll just add as well that the opportunity for these unique revenants to continuously be the face, like as we expand out what video generation is, as the intelligence engine gets better, essentially the revenants maintain that one of one value in the ecosystem that is critical to um, as AI scales, right? Like it's really important to know that there will only always be one Rumi or one Alan Turing INFT, right? That is from the Revenants collection. It's a limited, scarce set, and that data set has been fine-tuned and trained and harnessed and improved over time. So, all right. That said, I think like we've had some highlights. Like I think this year, was it this year that we won the NFT NYC thing? Was it this year? Was it last
Yes,
year?
it
I
was
feel
this
like,
year. Yeah.
I don't know, just the cycles in crypto like make you feel like it's like 9 years in 1 year, right? So yeah, but there are some learnings for us as well. So like we polled the community. I think Colin might be helpful to. I maybe I realize I didn't prepare you for this, but yeah,
It's okay.
this is the part where I throw you randomly under the bus. Next,
Sure.
I'll give you heads up, Komalika, and then Serge, right? So and then maybe Fahad later on. But so I think like what was really important to us was like, okay, it's Epoch One, it's Create the Creator. We're in the doldrums of the bear market. What does our community think? What does our community feel? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Sure, we're generating data sets. Does the community understand the value of that? Will they see the value realize? When do they see that value realize? What exactly do they want? So we polled, I think, a diverse number of folks. Colin reached out to a number of people in the through the Alethea email list, and I think we gave out some rewards. So Colin, just give a high level overview that I don't butcher, right? So
Yeah, that's totally fine. Together with our researcher, we really thought very specifically about like what kind of questions we wanted to ask. We wanted to put it out there and get a survey, and we got 100 folks from our community to respond. What was great about the responders was that there were power users or people that really cared about um, the ecosystem, the technology. They had really great insights, and it was clear that that overall the general takeaways were they love Alethea generally. They love the website. They love Fusion as a product. They want more of the tech. The things that they really want to see us really step up on is having more events. Being able to offer more services or make sure that the tech was able to produce more functional and incredible um, output. And they wanted to see more opportunities for their NFTs to come to life. So when we averaged out an NPS score, which is sort of an industry standard score, we sort of got the average, which is 14. And for an early startup and an early technology that's building proof of concept and executing things um, to sort of flesh out where we're headed. That's a decent score. We have some things to improve on, but it was great feedback. And then we held a couple of Zoom meetings where we sat down with folks and really picked their brains a little bit more. Awesome insight there as well. And so we're excited to see where we're going with Epoch 2. We're excited to bring some of our folks in our community some of their ideas, shine some light on them, and bring them to fruition. And we'll be doing more of this in the future. We're looking forward to reaching out to you guys.
cool. Thank you, Colin, for that summary. I think overall, there's certain things that we did decently. A good score during crypto bear market when a number of my friends who are also founders of other projects. I've seen their entire startup either collapse or the investors go bankrupt. Like it's a very difficult space right now for the broader ecosystem. So I feel that this is a strong position that we are in. Definitely things we can do a lot better, and I'll dive into that as well. I think a couple of things that were flagged to us that we have been slow on is, for example, the archive opening, just because of the amount of R&D research that we felt the intelligence layer could have, and how this would go into Epoch 2. Archives are going to be critical in Epoch 2, and we are definitely following through on it. It's just we want to make sure when we unbox the archives that the assets have value in the ecosystem, right? So we don't want to just unbox it and then what some other projects have to resort to doing is find ways and scrape the end of the barrel to try and make their assets have some value, right? So what we need genuinely and principally has always been the case around perfecting the protocol and making sure that it's not just a clarify Colin's comment, it's not just proof of concept. Like a lot of this was already developed and is now being perfected, right? So like for us, like Noah's Ark is an ecosystem that that is going to get more and more valuable over time. Just like the INFT protocol, it has already been developed. Now it's just being improved incrementally, epoch by epoch by epoch. Same with the AI intelligence engine. So for us, I think like some of the community asks, like one thing is accessibility. Like some of our users are power users. They have great MacBooks, but I went to my dad's place and he has like a simple desktop, right? Like, and I wanted to show him what we do. And I loaded Alethea AI, and I was just surprised that on a simple desktop, Alethea AI takes such a long time to load. And this type of blind spots around accessibility and making AI accessible is essentially where we value the community's feedback. Like, tell us what we're doing wrong here. How can we improve? And really, at the end of the day, for us, Noah's Ark, that ecosystem, is largely the play there is always been, if you look at the richness of the graphics and the assets, it's always been in the direction of one day this would be almost a 3D like environment, or 3D environment, 3D metaverse environment, where these assets would live, breathe, where you could interact with them. So that's still a pathway for Noah's Ark, but that shuts out a lot of people who don't have great computers, right? Like, or a great MacBook or a great M1 chip, right? So there's genuine feedback that came. We had to design the system to make sure that it would be relevant to the core audience that we had identified during the launch of the V1 of of the protocol, right, and the first epoch. But now that we are broadening our reach, it's really important for us to begin democratizing and finding ways to include more and more people over time. So we also receive feedback like add more supported communities for Fusion. This one, we learned the hard way that uploading 10,000 assets and trying to get our animation model to locate where the mouth, the face, for it to learn regularly over and over again was very, very time consuming. So was there a better way for us to do it? Like that became the question. So community feedback, very important, drove product decision making. And then I think what you guys will see today, you'd find really relevant to some of these community asks that came. Interaction time as well. I know people want to interact more with their INFTs. They want to interact with the characters they care for. It's kind of bad. Like, you spend so much time and energy and effort, and then you train a character up, and then you only get like what, seven interactions, 5. It's
not enough. It's never enough.
Let me tell you something, Brian. It's like an abusive, toxic relationship, right? Like, so it's like so the challenge here is just to make sure that we can create the right ecosystem and the right framework for our users who have thought through and trained their characters and actually are able to interact with them regularly. So these are all fair asks, but we also had certain limits in terms of how much compute can we reasonably utilize without burning the entire like ecosystem. Like if we just gave away credits for free, or if we just became an ecosystem where you could have infinite interactions and we didn't put protections in place, we would run into a lot of trouble around sustaining this AI engine and all of the different flywheels that we need, right? So this is a very important slide. Community is extremely important. I really appreciate Colin and Brent and a research that went into this to listen to it. If you feel anything's not captured here, really strongly that you feel should be captured, please please hound Brent on DMs. And don't let him sleep over Christmas, right? That's the best torture you can give him.
The DMs are now closed. But I do want to say, I appreciate that. It's a bold move to throw out an NPS score in the market that we're in. But I do want to say that's how valuable our community's feedback is to us, because we want to ensure that we're consistently delivering a product that you like, you want to use, and you'll continue using. So this is a very important slide for us to showcase.
Yeah, Awesome. So I'll move on to the next slide, which I believe is on. Oh yeah, this was the. Oh yeah, archives are going to be very essential for Epoch 2. Hang on to that. They're critical assets in the ecosystem, and the unboxing will by itself be a glorious event. And so these were some of the core learnings I think that we took away as well. I just wanted to emphasize this again. The site is extremely graphic intensive, difficult to utilize for many users who don't have M1 MacBooks. It takes time for us to train our AI model per collection. So we're going to solve for this, and we'll show you what we have as well. The NFT communities, some of the communities we were talking with, some of the pipelines, the partnerships we had built, because we entered a protracted bear market, some of them, the people we're talking to either got fired, displaced, found a new job, left Web3. So it was like this strange sort of environment where there's just so much chaos occurring, and it was challenging to really be able to build some of these bridges. But we've kept some really good relationships alive with some really strong projects. And we'll continue working with them because they have a really long-term coherent vision. It's just a sinking sort of tide, is it a rising tide lifts all boats, and a sinking tide, what does it do? I don't know. Just sinks all the boats? I don't know. Like, does it? Okay. But we also decided that a lo-fi version of Noah's Ark needs to be created. Like, can we make it a little bit easier for people to interact with the NFTs, let them start the conversations, make it cheaper on the compute? Maybe a lower fidelity version might be interesting for us to explore. So those are some things that came up. The community also wants more input on what collections they can fuse or what they can bring to life. Users need the ability to create characters that are compatible with Fusion, right? So there were like these blockers, basically, because we went with a collection approach, which really was helpful and important. Essentially, if our AI model wasn't trained fast enough on integrating these collections, we ran into this problem like, okay, it's going to take, typically it would take 2 to 3 weeks, but it's taking a bit longer because this collection's artwork is very different. This collection has a certain specific approach. Maybe you might have to use a manual animator first to train the AI model. So all of these were inefficiencies that could be automated, right? So we discovered that throughout the process. And I think those learnings have, really helped inform us of what is possible and what we can do, and the R&D that went into it. So these were some of the, I would say, like grassroots feedback that we received from the community. How do we take that feedback, and do we throw it away? How do we take this feedback and make it, what did 50 Cent say, Brent? Turn shit into sugar? No, turn sugar into shit. No, what was
I honestly don't know.
Whenever I try to be cool, I fail, right? So, but maybe Komalika or the younger folks on the call might be able to help me out. But yeah. So now this leads us into Epoch 2, which is all about permissionless creation. That means we're going to this is the scary part, right, Brent? We're going to like stop being the gatekeepers of stuff, right? Like, it's really important that people understand that we hear you. We know you want to have more freedom to create. We know you want to do more with this technology. We know that there's so much happening, and we know you want to own this this exponential curve. Right now, with all of the tools out there, whether it's ChatGPT or Stability, none of that ownership layer exists, and that for us is like philosophically not aligned with the principles of Web3 and generative AI, right? Like, when you contribute data sets, your labor must at some point get rewarded, right? Otherwise, you're just feeding a giant AGI spaghetti monster, right? So Epoch 2 is about permissionless creation. Kind of like the graphic, but okay. So this was just to emphasize, and I'll talk a bit about, this was a version 1 of the AI protocol, right? Remember, we sort of renamed it from the INFT protocol to the AI protocol. This was what V1 looked like. V2 is this, right? So we are bringing in a new intelligence layer called Character GPT, right? Character GPT is our first flagship multimodal system, and there will be more future models. So we're adding this intelligence layer out, and we're democratizing access to this intelligence layer for INFTs, right? So if you're an INFT owner, you would be able to use this intelligence layer to create a lot of dApps and applications and drive value to the ecosystem. Okay, so this is the difference. If I go back and I go forward, I go back, I go forward, right? So we're adding in this intelligence layer called Character GPT, and we'll show you what it is and why we think it is revolutionary as well. Not just from our standpoint, but also based on the feedback we've gotten from other folks in the field, journalists, some of our token holders, institutional token holders have used it as well. So it is a very, very powerful, potent system. We'll walk you through it and what it means, but just be patient, right? We'll get there. But in between, I'll sprinkle some bad jokes, and you'll have to force a laughter. Right? Like usually, the laughter is forced from my team members. Like if they don't smile, they know like there's this awkwardness that exists. Do we leave him hanging, right, Brent? Do you leave me hanging, Brent? That's good. That's the most awkward laugh I've heard in a long time. But all right, so again, go back to the flywheels. Now the intelligence layer, we trained it on the data sets of what was in Epoch 1, right? Like, so what you see in Epoch 2 is going to be really it's an upgrade. It's a really significant upgrade, and I'll try and contextualize this in the analogy we always use when you try and explain INFTs. When we launched INFTs, and this is consistent today, so this structure will never change, right? So there's a body, which is just like we equated to the sort of human analogy, right? There's the body, the physical body. There is a soul, which is an NFT asset, which is where the intelligence flows, right? Like the soul, the body, and the mind. Both the soul and the body are on-chain assets. The mind has been fundamentally off-chain, right? Because that's the AI services. You can't anybody. So for a while, I was getting so frustrated when people would say like, "Oh, we can put AI, we can put an AI model on chain," and I was like, "There's no way. There's no blockchain that can take any of that, right?" So, but somehow the narrative was it was a little bit sticky at first and then sort of faded away. So the mind has always been off-chain. The mind is something that the services that we allowed you to access. So, for example, if your soul was a level 1, you not many services, right? Like, but if your soul was a level 2, you could recite or broadcast. If your soul was a level 3, the mind would allow you to do real-time interactions, right? And if it was level 4, you could go and create art. But what we're doing right now with the mind, because we've learned from Epoch 1, is we're basically like enlarging it and like making it it's like we've just given it a limitless pill or injection, right? And it is filled with potential. And the mind now has the potential to create fully functioning decentralized applications. That means every INFT owner, and we'll show you examples of what is possible with this capability, will now be able to create their own application that would drive value to the protocol, that would drive value to them. And they would be using a really powerful AI engine, the Character GPT model that we have. Am I making sense so far, Brent? Have I lost the people? Are the Alethians lost in the
No, they're intrigued. There's so much more to come. I'm excited about it.
Do I swear on these? Have I swear on these calls before? I was about to say like mind something, but then I stopped myself. I was like, I should make it family friendly, right? Like sometimes
you're doing okay.
When you were quoting the brilliant mind of 50 Cent, I believe you cussed.
Okay. No problem. So the applications are based on the intelligence level of the INFT. So if you're going to use this mind, this tremendously powerful mind that we're launching, you can. It depends on the level of your INFT, but you would be able to create really powerful applications, and we'll show you some examples of what's possible as well, just so you can visualize it and start thinking through how you can become the creator and have permissionless creation, right? So to summarize, the power here has been, the shift here for us has been like, it took us about a year to create Alice, right? The research, we had to work with OpenAI, we had to understand all of the different models that go into place. Then we had the NFT aspect of it. How do you make it secure? How do you make it ownable, transferable? How do you create scarcity on chain that is real scarcity and not just it's not just an asset that just can be replicated, right? So there is tremendous learnings that we had when we launched Alice now, and then after that, it took us about 6 months to create the 100 INFTs. So from one, we sort of shortened the time to like 6 months, right? And these INFTs now have been earning rewards. Where we are now with Character GPT, which is almost like Chat GPT. With Character GPT, the difference is you'd be able to create an intelligent asset in minutes, right? And any asset in the world that you want to create. So that's sort of the direction we're going in, because we're going on this exponential curve. So we're proud to introduce Character GPT. It's the world's first multimodal AI system that can create interactive characters and interactive assets from a description in natural language. So what this means is you can just type Colin Brent with Brent with an Alethea hat with maybe an Indian accent, right? And you can even upload an image of Brent, and Brent would become an intelligent interactive asset on chain that would have its own intelligence within, like, I don't know, 3 minutes or less, right? Like a few minutes maximum. That's what we've seen. Does this make sense so far to people? Have I lost the crowd?
No, their minds are blown right now. Everybody's really excited.
It's a text to interactive character system. That means you just type any text you want and you get you get any character out. Now this creates a lot of like governance areas of how the protocol should manage certain characters, which we will perhaps provide some guidance on. But essentially, this is a system that would allow users to create interactive characters fairly rapidly, but also interactive assets, right? And it's up to the user's imagination. And this tool, Character GPT, is available to all of our INFT holders to build from. So that means if you're going to build using Character GPT, you can. If you want to build a DApp using Character GPT, so I'll give you a quick example. Character GPT today, in this example that I'll show you, for example, it shows like a slightly photorealistic version, right, of a person, of a gaming character, I think, if I recall in the demo. But let's say you wanted to use Character GPT, and you wanted to create a DApp that just does only animes, right? Like anybody can go in and type, I would like a Korean heartthrob version of Serge who loves to sing karaoke. Then you upload Serge's face and you get his beautiful hairstyle and with a slight anime twist, right? And then that character is interactive and ownable on chain as an asset and sells for $500,000, right? And he quits Alethea. Right? So sorry, Serge, that's not what I want. But the point is that you can take Character GPT. It is a multimodal AI system, and you can fine tune it, and you can launch it on your own servers. There is like some details here that we're going to flesh out a little bit more. But basically, the idea here is if you're an INFT owner, you have the opportunity to use this Character GPT to build applications and build really cool examples of your dApps, right? Makes sense so far? I lost the crowd.
Okay. They're all in Discord. They're just chatting.
The people are with us.
They are.
Guys, it's really important, and that's why we announced the labor rewards. That's why we've done all of this, because all of this was feeding the data sets and the engines and to learn. And this is where, like, for us, foundationally, Web3 is a critical pillar. So this is what this is a quick demo. I think Serge, you put this together, if I recall, just very quickly of the system. So I'm just going to play it, and then we'll start releasing. I believe we'll have more and more. We're just I'll give the exact dates, but the system is fully functional and live. We're going to be launching with a number of different. We'll share a few more details on how this is going to be launching, but we wanted to share this with the community first. So I'll just play this and let's see. right. So that is like the generating of Pixie took about, I think, Serge, it took us about a minute to generate her. I mean, I know you sped it up a little bit just for the demo,
It
but
was
it took
less than
us
60 seconds.
less than 60 seconds. And the ability for any character to be created, any character at all to be created, is there. It's now up to the community to also decide what characters and how we regulate characters that go on chain. So there will be some guidance that we will provide from the decentralized entity, from the AI protocol, as to what characters can go on chain and what how we regulate certain characters, for example, hate speech characters. How do we do that in a decentralized way? That's a whole. This system will open that up, right? Like you can generate any character. So if you think of what ChatGPT did, ChatGPT basically is almost like a search engine. And this is, it's almost like a character search engine. So you can create the character and you can query that character for anything and everything. And the level of intelligence and interactivity that you'll get from that character is much more refined and much more stickier. And you can create all sorts of characters and there's no limit. Right? And so this character GPT framework allows you as a user, as a INFT owner, you can build dApps using Character GPT now, and you will be able to launch these dApps into the ecosystem. So just diving in a little bit more, so I don't lose the audience, but it's text to character creation. So that means you just type text. Again, you can type like, okay, attractive female with red, you know, what is this shirt, like a navy outfit with a bow tie with a stern look, and that's who you get, right? And you will have an identity immediately created. You will have a voice, a synthetic voice, a body, and this AI character basically can create assets that are compatible with the AI protocol, right? So creators and developers can use this to generate realistic AI characters that can communicate in a natural way. This is just one example. You can imagine this for thousands of NFT collections, for example, like whatever NFT collections you want to fine tune the model on, you can actually think through that. And you can also use this for, Brent, I think you had some examples of anime, manga. There's just many different types of assets that can be created using this character GPT, text to character creation. So that means you type text, you get character output. I see people smiling. Is there a joke happening? Are people making fun of me in one way or another? What's good?
No, there's just lots of great questions in Discord that are about slides that are coming. So I'm telling everybody just to hang tight.
Oh, okay, hang
for a
tight.
minute.
Yeah. So for us, this is really important because you don't need to write a single line of code. You don't need character art. You can just type it in. Everything gets resolved. You don't need animation. And you don't need to learn how to, you can customize the character's personality even more and bring their stories to life. And you don't need to learn how to tokenize an asset because this asset is fundamentally tokenized and you can bring this asset to life. Any questions that I should take right now, Brent, that you think might be relevant before I move to the dApps?
I honestly don't think so because they're going to be explained in some of the future slides. So we should move forward and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, I feel like the community is asking all the right questions, and it's great because we're going to be able to answer them.
Perfect. Yeah. So very quickly, some of the decentralized applications this will enable for all of you to build. All of the dApps, right, will be powered by INFT owners, right? So if you're an INFT owner, you're bound by the rules of the protocol. You will be able to access Character GPT. You will settle on the protocol. We are also expanding the protocol to be compatible with Polygon. But you would be able to essentially create, if somebody wanted to create, for example, a marketplace of highly intelligent characters that compete for jobs or do or participate. Let's say you wanted somebody to write an essay for you and you wanted it written in Shakespeare style. The Revenant Shakespeare could actually be on this job marketplace to automatically bid for that job and fulfill that job's function with Character GPT. You can create AI characters in the metaverse. You can create tokenized voice assistants. You can create generative AI apps. So all of this area, again, is surface area of expanding what's possible with dApps is going to be really, really critical, right? So all of you can now become dApp creators, and it will become a lot more easier for all of you to create dApps as well. Hopefully I am still coming in strong, right? So, and I'm not lost. So one thing that is also important is in Epoch 1, we called them personality pods. We think intelligence pods for Epoch 2 is a really good understanding of its evolution, because your pod now basically entitles you to, when fused with an NFT to create an NFT, it entitles you to use character GPT to create full applications, right? So you can create all sorts of applications that character GPT will enable. If you wanted to create an art service, or if you wanted to create all of the different, if you wanted to create even like, you were seeing all this, if you wanted to create a Lensa app, you can use character GPT to create a Lensa app, as long as you have an INFT that's bound by the protocol, and then you will be issuing NFT assets in that ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I was going to say this page works as well. It's just really important. This is questions coming up. Do I need an INFT to create these? And no, you need the INFT to create the dApp, as you see here, but any user can utilize your dApp. They do not need a pod. They do not even need a Web3 wallet if you're not creating a Web3 dApp. So this opens up the potential for you to you can still fuse your pod with an NFT to create an INFT, but now we're giving you the capability to utilize character GPT to be able to create dApps.
Yeah. So just to like walk you through the demo again, when I was sharing this, for example, is character GPT at its rawest form. But this dApp itself, this can be integrated into any dApp front end. So just like think of like it's a search bar that allows you to tap into character GPT to create any application that you want. So if you wanted to create, if you wanted your users to upload, for example, images and create talking chatbot avatars, you can use character GPT to create that application if you'd like. And your users, like to write this out, your users, the users don't need to be INFT owners. The users are just everyone and anyone in the world. They can come in, they can type, they can create, they can play, they can interact, and they can create NFT assets in the ecosystem. We will probably need to explain that a bit more with examples.
We'll need some graphics on that, but I think it's important to say it 10 times, right?
So this is really important. It's basically if I go back one more time, I'll try and say it one more time in a different way. It's the mind in Epoch 1 was a very small mind, right? Like it was like a child's mind. Like you could do broadcast, recite, services. But now with the same INFT, the body and soul fused together, you're getting an expanded mind that can launch entire applications with a general multimodal AI system called Character GPT. And Character GPT can create interactive characters in a minute or less. You can verticalize and create all sorts of characters, whether it's anime characters, whether it is characters in a specific metaverse, whether it's an NFT collection. As long as you have an NFT, you can use Character GPT to build all sorts of applications. So it'll get clear over time. I think it's a new concept. So the idea of this, that people can just generally create characters very quickly. Once people start playing with the technology, they'll get a feel of what it actually means. I mean, when we first introduced INFTs, people were also like, it's so odd and weird to combine these two things together, but this is going to be the norm, these sort of multimodal AI systems, right? Right, so like, let me show you like a quick example of like what's possible. And this is like just, let's say you're a Revenant owner of Alan Turing's dApp, and you wanted to create a game using Character GPT. You can, because it's a multimodal AI system, it can do many different things, right? It can not just launch characters, it can create art assets, It can do reasoning, language. So it's cutting across many different vertical stacks. So this, for example, is like if the Revenant Alan Turing wanted to create a chess game where you could go in and play with the Revenant, you can actually do that, right? So your character would have an interactive game next to it, and you would be tapping on the character GPT engine, right? Or like, let's say if you're Merlin and if you wanted to cast spells, right? Or you wanted people to interact with you and you would create AI generated art where people would create assets with you. And you would be generating that asset. The underlying AI engine here would be character GPT. So, and there's going to be many more examples of this. So the applications for all of you where this becomes interesting, and this is going to be completely open, right? So maybe Brent, it might be fun. I don't know whether we should take this risk, but it might be interesting if we ask the community to like just type any and all sorts of characters, and we just maybe Komalika pick something that doesn't get me in trouble, but like we'll generate it, and we can actually show how quickly it generates as well, right? So but hold on, let me just explain this one part, and then you guys can say like Arif really threw all of us under the bus without checking with us, right? So but like one of the things that occurs here is like for the value for creators or consumers, for all of you. Basically, if you wanted to create your digital twin, you can upload your image and that character would start talking to you and interacting with you live within 2 minutes or less, right? So that's like a digital twin. So if I take Brent's face, I upload it and say Brent with a sarcastic personality, but with a nice, beautiful female accent or female voice, right? Brent would have that exact character, and that interactive character would be live within 2 minutes or less. Does that make sense? So that's like really, really aggressively powerful system for text to character creation. If you wanted to create an AI companion of, let's say, Serge, how many dead girlfriends do you have? Sorry, that's a strange question. No, I'm kidding. But like, I was reading an article about OpenAI. I can't remember. It was one of those articles that I read that someone was using GPT-3 or GPT, one of the models, to bring back their dead loved one, right? So if you want to create a companion, you're welcome to create your companion. You can upload data sets to it, and then within a matter of minutes, it'll get created. And you don't need, it's all permissionless. Alethea's permission, the ecosystem's permission is not needed, but there is going to be governance on chain. So it is really permissionless creation. If you want to create a search engine character, that means this character is, or this specific asset is fine-tuned to a very specific unique data set that you want to query repeatedly over and over again. Character GPT can provide you with that information and provide you the opportunity to create this character. If you wanted to create a virtual influencer, e-commerce chatbot, if you wanted to create a TikTok video character, or if you just wanted to preserve your culture or heritage, that's also possible, right? So that's what, from a consumer standpoint, all of you would be able to access and create with Character GPT. But if you want to create a DApp, or an application that does this for many people, you can do that if you're an INFT owner. So hopefully the distinction is clear. That means as a retail user, I can go in and just interact with these applications, no problem at all. But if I want to do more, I have an INFT and I can actually create a full DApp that allows people to create digital twins. Does that make sense? Right? Brent, you have a frown on your head. Is that?
No, not a frown. This is a great question from Braves. Go Braves, by the way. He said, so would you need to fuse the character to a pod, but for instance, on these characters that's being created, or is it already an NFT, or how does that work?
Say the question one more time, Brent, just because your beautiful Southern charm, I couldn't hear a little bit of it, but one more time.
Don't make me slow down my draw in it even more. Brave said, would you need to fuse this character to a pod, or is it already an NFT? How does that work?
The character generated, so there is a user flow which we will share with all of you. Because Character GPT can generate, we did a stress test yesterday. It can generate up to 10,000 characters in a minute, almost effortlessly. And the question is, when does that asset go on chain? And we're going to let users decide when do they want to tokenize that asset. So for example, because the moment they tokenize the asset and they say we want this NFT on chain, so let's say this is where it gets like governance comes in, right? So let's say I take Brent's face. Sorry, Brent, I keep using your face because it's a bit safer to use you than like to go after like Komalika, because like it's easier to make fun of you, Brent.
It's the reason I
So
put on moisturizer this morning. So I knew.
so let's say if I take Brent's face and I upload his data set and I tokenize it as an NFT, and it has Brent's voice, it sounds like Brent, it is a digital, it's almost like a digital twin, but I didn't ask your permission, Brent. And then you go to the dApp and you say, hey, this is impersonation, or this is the moment it's on chain, this is an NFT of me that I didn't approve, right? And the dApp level governance kicks in, the protocol level governance kicks in to either regulate that specific NFT asset. And the moment it goes on chain, essentially it's bound by the rules of the protocol, right? So you can create endless number of assets that are not NFTs, but the moment you decide to tokenize it as an NFT, then you're bound by the rules of the protocol. Good question, though. I think we should add that question to the FAQ, Brent. Hopefully that addresses it. So, okay. Yep. So for creators, consumers, if you just want to use the dApp, if you just want to use it to create cool stuff, great. If you don't want to become a developer or creator, no problem at all. You can create all sorts of really cool things, like in an instant. But if you want to do some cooler, higher quality stuff that will drive value to the protocol, we will be giving out grants from the ecosystem to drive you to create some of the more valuable applications we think would drive value to the ecosystem, right? So that's part of our decentralization as well, where you as a user can now use this technology to build dApps that drive value to the protocol. Okay, so Epoch 2 really is about permissionless creation and allowing our users to, if you want to be a consumer, if you want to just be a creator, no problem. You can use Character GPT to bring your imagination to life, but you can also use the protocol. You can also use Character GPT to create completely new dApps, completely new front ends, completely new applications that are leveraging this multimodal AI system. Make sense so far? Okay. So again, just to emphasize, remember what we had in version 1 and what we had in version 2 of the protocol, right? Version 1, we didn't explicitly call out the intelligence layer because we were training it. But now with this intelligence layer called Character GPT, what it basically means is any dApp that is built on top will be utilizing Character GPT. Whether it's Noah's Ark, whether it's a generative dApps, you could create a generative writing dApp, you could create a generative code dApp, you could have characters at the center of this dApp, or you could choose to not have characters at all. It could just be text-based, right? All of these assets would be essentially anchored on chain within this Web3 ecosystem. So it goes back to the original flywheel, which was the number of dApps is about to grow in the ecosystem, and we will be launching several dApps in the coming weeks. So you'll see that coming. But we are asking our community, we will be putting out, I think, Brent, a request for dApps. So in fact, today, I think, so if you are interested in building a dApp with us, you can. If you're not interested in building a dApp, no problem at all. You can use Character GPT just as a creator to mint endless number of assets and characters, right? So that's up to you. But this allows you to really bring these, take this Character GPT engine to the next level. So I just wanted to emphasize this here a little bit more. There's also something really interesting about Character GPT, and Komalika, get ready, your turn's coming. Right? The interesting thing about Character GPT is it has its own language and syntax. So how you create a prompt in Character GPT and the results you get there's like a secret recipe almost, right? So like there's like an art and science to it. Kumalika, do you want to talk a little bit about this, if you're comfortable? And then I think we will have some guides as well that you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. So just like talking about the character GPT, I see that people, like some of them, like as you mentioned earlier, that some of them shared a few prompts which are pretty interesting. But we will be sharing a guide shortly on how to use character GPT so that people have a better idea about how to play around with this technology. Because when you think about it, like it's phenomenal, but at the very same time, as you usually mention that any exponential technology also has its higher moral footprint. So it's important that people have a sort of framework on how to navigate around it. But yeah, we'll just like roll it out to people so that they can play around with it and just see the magic themselves. I'm really excited for the community. For them to just like play around with it, because it's been like, I swear it's been so difficult to just hold back all the information. Even in the last Twitter spaces, everyone was so excited, and Maliha and I, we were just struggling to keep our mouths shut that, okay, we are not going to give any alpha. So really excited to see what people are going to do with it.
Awesome. No, that's really great. I don't think I ever said advanced technologies require a higher moral footprint, right? I never said that. Was that me? No, that was not me. That was someone else, right?
No, it was one of, I think maybe I'm just misattributing it to you.
But all of the characters that get created, the protocol at the end of the day must govern what characters can go on chain. And the moment they go on chain, that's when governance kicks in, right? And the community must decide how this technology is going to be used, right? So if the community decides to a large degree that they want to move this in a specific direction, we will be launching, for example, a snapshot page shortly with our constitution for the AI protocol. If the community decides that they want the network to be biased in a specific direction, and token holders start voting for the network to allow certain characters or to disallow certain characters, there's this level of granularity and specificity that this can get down to. But there's this also a really good approach we can take where we are really allowing the community to decide. We're not becoming the editors of culture. We're not becoming the people who want to define what this becomes. But we have certain hard rules, right? So the hard rules that we would have are around hate speech, around child porn, around all of these red areas where we would not go, right? But anything else really is going to be defined by the community. And I think, Colin, you've spent a bit of time with our legal team to make sure that this is well thought through. I was wondering if you wanted to add something there as well on governance.
Yeah, I think that our legal team has made it clear that it's important for the community to have some power in making decisions around this. They recognize that, it's just a fact. People they're going to create characters that are offensive to other people. We imagine that the best will come out in people, and people will make incredible characters that are positive and exciting and fantastic. But I think that, what they see is they want to make sure that Alethea and our community has an infrastructure in place to make sure that people are protected. We'll ensure that there's use guidelines that are clear, so that folks can be protected in that way as well. We're doing everything we can to secure the protocol, secure Alethea and our community, and that'll be made very clear about what those guidelines look like.
Yeah, no, awesome. We'll have a constitution to start off with, so that's going to be coming up shortly so we'll have a lot of content. It'll get dripped as we get ready for the main launch of Character GPT. The engine's already live and it's working. We're stress testing it further. But once it's live, we want the community to be able to know, how to prompt the system. Kamalika might do one or two classes with all of you, so that all of you begin to understand how to use this engine. Think of like the language that Stable Diffusion has with their artwork, right? Or OpenAI's Chat GPT has with chat. Like, how do you prompt the engine? it's the same thing. Like, so because it's natural language, you just type whatever you want and you'll get whatever the engine gives you, right? But there are certain rules, there's a syntax, there's a grammar, there's a even though it's no code, there is some element of like code, right? Like what is the best way to get a character to be sarcastic or narcissistic, right? Like, how do you flesh that personality out, like in a single line or paragraph? How do you customize it further as well? So right, with that, I will now talk a little bit about AI protocol layer. This is very important. As some of you know, the INFT smart contracts, I believe they're available on Etherscan right now, Brent. I mean, I think everything's live and people can query and see how many INFTs have been created. That is a public good that already exists. To shepherd the AI protocol, and I'll just give you the definition of the AI protocol layer, right? It's very important. The AI protocol is the property rights backbone of the generative AI economy, right? So very important to know, like, it is the property rights backbone of the generative AI economy that's emerging. Without the property rights backbone, this is not going to really work, right? It enables the creation, interoperability, and governance of characters and assets that are basically the building blocks of tomorrow's intelligent world. With the suite of persistent and decentralized smart contracts, the protocol, the AI protocol, self-enforces the rules set by ALI token holders. So that means whatever rules and frameworks we come up with as a community, as a decentralized community, as we move into progressive decentralization, that is essentially where the rules, the persistent smart contracts, they can self-enforce these rules, right? So this enables the creators to build AI dApps and assets that are interoperable with each other. So all of the dApps that you see right now, because they're all built on the protocol, they will be interoperable with each other. So one asset would be able to live on another dApp, would be able to live on another dApp. So there is this like composability of intelligence occurring across this entire ecosystem. So it provides a secure and trustless environment in which the tokenized AI assets can be bought, sold, traded, but participating in this generative AI economy, right? The ownership layer. So that's really the AI protocol layer, which is really important and critical to this generative AI economy. The value here is to have also the opportunity for me to introduce Fahad, who's been really supportive and has been working to make sure that we can build this AI protocol layer in the best way possible. So Fahad is, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce him. He's the GM of the AI Protocol Institute, and they are shepherding the growth of the protocol and moving us towards progressive decentralization. He's been instrumental in ensuring that we take the right steps towards the goal of making AI truly a public good through the AI Protocol Institute. So I'll just share a few words that Character GPT created about Fahad, right? So Fahad, we typed in some random prompts and got some stuff out, but Fahad is a graduate of the University of Warwick with a degree in engineering and business studies. Expertise includes management sciences, and he has a pretty decent track record in understanding governance, decentralized networks, and he's led several successful initiatives in this field, right? So for me, as Fahad manages the institute, he's responsible to make sure that we progressively decentralize. The network doesn't descend into a terrible type of chaos, right? So it becomes a sustainable ecosystem. And the real mission that Fahad is tasked with is to make sure that AI is owned and democratically managed by all, right? So rather than just being concentrated in the hands of the powerful few actors that we see today. So I believe he's well positioned to drive positive change and make sure that the benefits of AI are shared by everyone. You can trust that Fahad and his team are working hard to ensure a really bright and positive future for the AI protocol layer, which is the governance, the decentralized voting, the protocol smart contract shepherding, all of that. So with that, Fahad, would you like to say a few words now that I've given you an entire introduction for you?
Sure. Can you hear me properly? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Thank you, Arif. So, hi everyone. I am excited to be here and introduce myself to the Alethea community. My name is Fahad, and I've been working behind the scenes to help develop the AI protocol. I'm passionate about using technology for greater good and believe the concept of progressive decentralization is key to ensuring that AI becomes a public good. I have a background in engineering and management sciences and have been heavily involved in the technical maintenance and upgrade of the AI protocol to its V2. And I am excited to take on the challenge of continuing to improve and refine the protocol. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with all of you to make sure that the AI protocol benefits everyone in the community.
Awesome, Fahad. Thank you. Really good to have you with us and to work with your organization to ensure the decentralization of our ecosystem. You also have like always the sharpest beard cut, right? Like on all the calls. So it's my way of trying to say maybe I should grow one out too. But all right. So that is the different layers. So today we introduce Character GPT. We will be getting some of you beta access to it, so you can start playing with it as well. Start testing it out and pushing the limits of it. There is a very strong release plan in place. There's several different organizations that we're partnering with to release this model and make it possible for all of you to create with it. The opportunity set here again is to utilize this for our INFTs. If you want to build a dApp, you would be able to build a dApp. Fahad, I realized I was on the wrong slide when you were introducing yourself. I should have talked about like I was supposed to be on this slide, and I didn't realize it. But there are some rules that we are putting in place for progressive decentralization. Maybe Fahad, you want to just read them out, just some guidance for the people. Yeah.
Just the
Actually, I realized this is fairly self-explanatory, so I'm not gonna force you to read the stuff. But since I love the sound of my own voice, the first phase of governance, only admins will be able to create proposals. Then we will have a 51% majority vote with a minimum ALI token. We will make this governance less restrictive progressively. This is very important because it's progressive. We're not opening the floodgates completely, but it's really it's an opportunity for us to learn, right, from the ecosystem. Like if too many people find Brent too popular and everybody wants to take Brent's face and create a Backstreet Boy version of him, and the community decides that his face should be pirated or whatever it is, and he becomes the global mascot, and the community votes in that favor that that's how it should go, then that's a democratic vote, right? Like we won't be able to control the direction of where it's going. So the community will decide what sort of characters get created, so what sort of frameworks get put in place to manage the network. But it'll start off with the constitution. So we'll put the constitution up for vote, and we would be able to govern the network this way, right? So the framework and the removal of malicious, what is a malicious tokenized AI character is going to become very important. So with that, I would like to invite all of you to build using Character GPT. Brent, can you post this grant form out in the Discord now, so we can start? So we would be able to launch dApps fairly quickly with Character GPT. I think you'll start seeing some dApps, decentralized applications go live. We've already been working with some Revenant owners. We've already been working with some individual developers and creators who have INFTs to get their feedback. So there will be a number of different dApps that go live fairly quickly in the next quarter. Would love for all of you to think through this form. We will be looking at the ecosystem fund that we have, the development, the token, the ecosystem fund, to look at funding certain dApps that we think would bring a lot of value to the protocol. So would love for all of you to look through it. You can also not go down this path and just use Character GPT as a consumer and retailer to just create any character you want, but you can also request a grant and build using Character GPT as well. Brent, shall we take some questions now? Are we getting questions, answers? Are people confused, happy, excited, sad, elated? I think like once they start playing around with the tech, they'll get a better sense or feel of it. But maybe we can start posting daily examples in the Discord as we scale up the beta.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I haven't seen any new questions and I certainly may have missed some. And just so everybody knows, the art builders are aggregating questions that have come up that we may have missed here. We're obviously here all the time, and we'll make sure we get to those. But I haven't seen anything come up that we haven't answered.
One thing that I wanted to emphasize was, because we are progressively decentralizing, one thing that we wanted to do differently as well was we wanted to share this information with the community first, solicit feedback as well, because Character GPT is fairly transformative in the sense that any character can be created text to character. It can be minted as an on-chain asset, right? So with this technology, what we want people to do is like think through the consequences as well. Like I think for us, like the next 2 to 3 weeks, almost like would love to see some really good philosophical discussions in the community. Like ChatGPT is already bringing some of this up, but now we've like gone further than that, right? Like it's not just a text to image model where you just create a static 2D image. You create a fully interactive character just like that, or you create interactive assets, with the snap of a finger, right? So the challenge is going to be like, how do we regulate and govern? So I think, Komalika, if we can start seeding some questions, getting some ideas and thoughts flowing, or some brain flow towards what lessons we're learning from ChatGPT's launch, that would be valuable for the community's learning as well. So we're entering V2. V2 is a bit more consultative. We're going to start looking at asking for more feedback, more incorporation into the actual input as we launch more dApps. So please fill up the form. Please let us know what you're interested in doing. Character GPT basically allows you to bring assets to life very, very quickly. And it really ties back into the idea that the mind has expanded significantly. All of your assets retain value. The mind will now allow your assets to be able to do a lot more than they used to do before. So the value that your INFTs will be able to create in the ecosystem is also higher, right? So the flywheels are starting to kick into high gear. So our thesis is that in Epoch 2, we'd start seeing more applications. So Noah's Ark will be one, but there will be many more applications that get created using the upgraded intelligence engine that we're now opening up for everyone to use, right? And then on the protocol side, what you'll start seeing is a lot more assets created. And this is also where the archives would play a very important role, because they would be very valuable in the perspective of the dApps, right? So the assets that you have from the archives can be used at the dApp level to drive whether it's a specific voice, or if it's a specific mystery item that's there, you would be able to use that to drive traffic to your dApp as well. All right. With that, I think, Brent, this is a start. So let's start seeding the community with some content, like maybe the prompt guides, or we start putting a plan in place there. I'm really grateful to the technical team that we have that has put this together, and also the marketing and community team as well. It is an exciting time. You will be seeing some media releases go out in the next couple of weeks with this. So please share, please test it out, please give us feedback as well. And you'll start seeing some really interesting use cases emerge as well. So I'm excited to see what the community comes up with. We're opening up the tool for the world to use. So it's just like when Stable Diffusion launched a tool, or when OpenAI launched ChatGPT. For us, this is a step up where people can just create really compelling interactive characters with a snap of a finger. Right? Okay, Brent, anything else we should address before we start seeding the community with some content and sharing the message? I think people are clear. Have I bored them? I feel like I bored them. I feel like we have bored.
No, everybody's really excited.
I just want them to try the tool. I think it'd be really cool to like get them the beta access and like play around with it. We'll open it up progressively because we're doing scaling. So just like I think some of you might have been in Stable Diffusion's Discord or other places where they were slowly opening up the tool to make sure that the systems don't break down. So we'll probably think through that a little bit more as to how to open up the access to the tool, or maybe we'll just start sharing demos every day, Brent, 1 or 2 demos. We'll ask the community what character you want to create, just record a video, show them what it looks like, and then like maybe have a character of the day, right? So that's a start. I'm just giving you more work, Brent, and that's why you're folding your hands.
It's all good. It's part of your goal to get me not to sleep, but that's why I have a big cup of coffee.
Yeah, so it's important. I think we can emphasize and re-emphasize to the community a couple of things, because this next phase is very important to us. The genuine ownership and decentralization of AI. We are putting our money where our mouth is in terms of making sure that these assets are compatible on a public open protocol that is decentralized and owned by shepherded by the AI Protocol Institute, but really a public good. So people will be able to see what AI assets are getting created at scale, right? And what is getting tokenized, what is getting bought, sold, or transferred, and people will be able to do really cool, interesting things with these assets. So with that, thank you so much, Aletheian community. It is now 1:45 a.m. and my eyes are squinting, but my spirit is soaring. I hope all of you I think once we get the character GPT out in terms of like giving them beta access and start playing with it, they would feel like they're going to drive the Ferrari like they stole it, right? So that's the idea that happens, right? So thank you everyone for taking the time. Really looking forward to interacting, and then let's collate the feedback and the questions, and then we'll continue answering them and educating. I think we should also have a session on like how to write prompts for interacting with character GPT.